Hello, myself Sunil R Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the topic that is the attraction, which is going to happen 100%, and the generation, the person of generation, next generation is also going to happen 100%, and next generation is not going to happen. That is also 100%. So these all factors basically are we are discussing. In this basically we just now basically we were discussing about the uh, we were discussing about the topic that is basically banking investment, how basically banks do the investment. So one person basically told that basically uh, assume that there are basically 700 planets on earth basically staying in the world basically in different country basically. Assume few are staying in India, few are staying in US, few are staying in Europe, few are staying in Italy, few are staying in Pakistan, few are staying in Sri Lanka, few are staying in Singapore. So like this, basically people are staying, and they say that basically 700 is the planets count, and that is the basically the honor basically we all are staying, and 22 is the blood group. Basically. 22 is the blood group basically, which contains 700 planets. Sorry, 700 planets owner basically. So this is basically the matrix, and on the base of this matrix, only the whole world basically is having the energy basically. So on the base of any changes basically in the planet group is going to happen, that is basically due to on the base of this diagram only basically you can say. So this is basically one matrix basically you can say, which basically is captured by many groups basically. That basically you can say that assume that 4 to 5 basically the energy companies are basically kept connected with these 700 planets, and they are basically getting the data of the 700 planets, and they are basically sending the data of these 700 planets to this owners basically. Like this the basically world is basically getting controlled. So first they are getting the data of energy, and then basically the world is basically getting the energy. So here basically I want to say is that when the corona basically disease was basically spread across the world basically, first this group basically got the effect. That basically never basically news group basically was not able to capture that news basically, that the corona disease has already came, and it has basically attacked the planet's owner basically. Here the basically the first basically group basically was attacked, that was planet's owner, and then basically the that was basically totally changed of the blood group basically. It might possible that new blood group owner or basically new planet might have introduced by the uh, universe group basically. It might possible that some new planet owner basically might have joined the 700 people, and the 701 basically might be the count now. So basically, everything, anything basically is possible. Basically, it might possible that 700 crore, 700 people planet, 700 planets owner basically might got some changes in the blood cells. Anything basically, anything can happen. So investment basically in the world basically is connected with this only. Basically, city equal to investment, right? And city equal to blood cells. Nowadays, basically, the city has converted into the blood cells, because each and every human body basically nowadays is doing the some production basically. Production means how the production of the human needs basically. So world basically is fully converted into this, but mostly few country basically are still there basically. There basically internet also basically is not allowed, because world basically says that basically we can't convert entire country basically to certain utilities basically. We can't convert entire world basically. It might possible that that utility which we created, that might get fail, or that might possible that if any future basically the entire basically utility which is basically connected with the cities, that city basically got affected infected. So where basically the people are going to stay basically, the big people, rich people I'm talking about, because normal people basically have to stay there only. Rich people basically I'm talking about. So the few country basically are still basically not basically internet having. So they will basically jump to that city, sorry, that country basically, so that basically they can be secure basically, because their internet is not there, the digital world is not there, nothing basically is there. Even basically phone connection is also not there. It might possible that is that country basically might be outside India also basically, because it's country basically. So it's not India, that is 100% confirmed. Because in India basically mostly cities are basically directly connected with the digital way. Because everywhere basically mobiles are there. So mobiles are there basically, that means by default it's a digital world only basically, right? It's a digital world only. So by default it's a digital world only. So mostly basically it is not possible. So here basically the thing is basically the investment is directly connected with this matrix. That matrix is 22 planets, sorry, 22 blood groups, 700 planets, owner, and their body structure and their blood cells, which is basically inside the Earth planet. They are basically staying in the Earth planet, literally. Their blood group is there. They basically connected with a set of investment basically. They basically get some income basically, and they basically do the investment, and according to that investment basically the blood group basically gets invested, and according to that blood group basically the blood group groups basically people basically, for example A blood group, then A blood group basically more than 150 crore people are there. So if this blood groups people owner is going to affect, that entire effect is going to happen one day to this 150 crore basically. It is going to might happen late, or basically little bit more late, because the blood group basically is going to circulate, sorry, the energy is 100% going to circulate to entire world basically, of that is basically 150 crore. Assume that somebody told that basically that if that person basically dies, then the person basically was the person who basically asked the question, he told that basically literally asked the intelligent question basically. Then he told that basically his family basically might take that responsibility. And one person told that if entire family dies, then mostly basically that blood group will end basically from this world basically. Then basically the 150 crore basically their blood group basically by default gets changed to another blood group. But mostly basically this will never happen, because planet owner family basically mostly never ends basically. This has basically never happened basically in the Earth planet history basically. So that's why basically mostly this will never happen. But anything is basically possible. Few people says that also basically. So mostly this has not happened yet, but mostly anything basically can happen. That also basically people say. So assume that basically we will assume that blood group is never going to end, because lots of creation has happened. That's why basically blood group basically, that is basically 150 crore people basically has invested how many money basically. You just see basically up to what level the money has been invested from the 150 crore people. Investment means they have literally invested they have created the lots of planets basically. You can say. Sorry, not planets also basically, but first they invested in the city's creation basically. Then only the basically creation has happened. So mostly basically the planet that grew. Sorry, uh, the planet group basically will never end, and the blood group basically also will never get there. That's basically like that basically. So here basically we are discussing about from where basically the actually investment starts of the banks basically. Then basically the one person basically asked the question. The planet's owner basically who have the bank account, their bank account in the is in the normal banks where basically the people basically is having the account. They basically told that basically mostly because in this world basically each and every banks are basically displayed in front of the world. So there is no bank basically which basically says that we don't have basically we basically has not registered our name in front of the world. That type of bank basically never exists. So mostly basically the planet owner basically bank account also basically that is also connected with the normal bank only basically. But their income basically is totally different. Their investment is there. Their investment are connected with this 150 crore. So everything basically is connected basically. So investment basically the banks basically says that basically few people says that basically very less bank basically might know this thing basically, but banks knows basically that this person basically who is the customer of the our bank basically he's the owner of the one of the planet. So that group basically knows that he is the owner of the planet. That basically the manager group level people only basically know because the type of the customer basically that basically depends upon the user level basically the user level you can say. So like this basically things are also basically there. So the investment is directly connected with like this also. So this is also one of the topic of the investment basically you can say. So here basically we are discussing that the person's next generation is going to happen or not going to happen, and who decides basically the person's next generation is going to happen or not going to happen. That actually we are discussing that this person generation is going to happen or not going to happen. If going to happen, then basically who are responsible for that, and if it's not going to happen, then who are responsible for